Hello, my friends. We are in Stuttgart. Namely, we are in the Probenzentrum, the rehearsal center of the State Opera in Stuttgart. And we're talking about the dumbest and at the same time least avoidable mistake when doing projections on stage. We are going to refilm a set with an actor. In this case, it's a singer. In this case, it's The Witch of Hänsel and Gretel, an opera that is really famous in Germany and usually is being played over years and years and years. So every production has hundreds of performances and there are changes. Usually it's the source of this mistake changing the cast.
Maybe I have to add that there was a reason why we made such excessive use of video on stage in this case. Our director was movie director Axel Ranisch, who also does great operas. So we took the time to explain why everything happens in a dystopian world after everything burned down by having a huge animation in the overture, for example. And so we were kind of forced into using video all over the piece.
So when we first filmed the whole thing, we did it on a marked set. And we thought if we have to redo it because the cast changes, then we can actually just reset everything, like the camera and the lights and all that stuff. And the position of the singer, which has to be fixed with their faces because...
Obviously I'm lying. We changed the set a little bit because that contraption that you see here, it just didn't work properly. So we decided to have a different setup to keep the singer from moving, because moving isn't an option in mapping.
So what we have here is a setup with lots of arrows and little marks. So if she looks here on this mark, she will look at the children on stage. That is for the audience, obviously. Well, right into the lens. That's over the audience. And then there are two more marks for the first row seats. And some lights. The usual.
So this is Verena. And we are redoing the whole set. Verena is the assistant director of the opera and knows all the scenes and will help me do this because I'm forgetful and mostly don't know what I'm doing. So this is what we arranged today. Now we're waiting for the witches to come. All right, so there is a person on stage that will appear in the projection. So it's recognizable. There is a big problem with this. Don't do it, if I could recommend that, because you will run into the problem if the piece runs in the repertoire. You will run into the problem that people, well, sometimes you change the cast, then you have to refilm it. That's what we're doing right now. We're refilming it, but for other reasons. It's the same cast, but we're refilming it for some changes. If you have to do this, make sure that everything is the same so you can recreate the whole set easily. Make a lot of photos about your set. Make a plan with everything in that plan. So the lamps, where the camera is, where the other lamps are. And then there is those markers. They are for the eye position or the direction you look at things. Because there's a huge difference when I look into the camera, thus looking straight into the audience's eyes, or if I look up into the far, or down to people acting down here somewhere, or over here. So that tells a whole story. If you have faces on stage, make sure they look the right way when they're being projected. So this is why we have markers like the musical director, the kids, up in the far, and the audience, even if I'm not moving my head. Another important trick that we will talk about when the lights are off and we are filming. The lighting has to be the same lighting as if the projection was lit by the stage lights. Let me elaborate on this one.
So obviously, apart from the counterlight that hits Hänsel on his back from the right, we have a clear light that comes from the upper left. So astonishingly, the moon is also being lit by this light. I mean, this is opera, we don't talk about realistic lighting, but Obviously, the main light is coming from somewhere up left backstage and hits everybody and also the moon, well, from the left. So the shadow of the nose, for example, it drops to the right, of course, and this is something to sell the trick a little more easily. And whatever you do, at any cost, avoid being your own stand-in. You will end up in social media if you do this.